Welcome to Ayur Times. Today, we're exploring something really important, the silent assault, how India's pollution damages your liver. You know, when we usually talk pollution, it's always about the lungs, isn't it? Coughing, breathing problems. It's serious, absolutely. But there's this other victim, kind of overlooked the liver. It's facing this, well, silent assault, and we need to pay attention. And the scale of India's pollution problem is just huge. India's dealing with some of the world's worst pollution levels, unfortunately. Cities like Delhi, Kanpur, Patna, they're often right at the top of those global pollution lists. It's more than just numbers, it's daily life for millions.
It really is. And it's helpful to understand what's driving this. It's not just one thing. You've got rapid industrial growth, which means more emissions, obviously. Then there's the sheer number of vehicles, construction dust everywhere, and agricultural burning is a big factor, too. Looking at air quality specifically, the WHO, the World Health Organization, calls the air in many Indian cities extremely hazardous. Just to give you an idea, PM 2.5 levels those really tiny, dangerous particles. They can be 10, even 15 times higher than what's considered safe. It's staggering. And it's not just the air. We also have to look at water pollution. Major rivers like the Ganges and Yamuna are, well, severely contaminated from industrial waste, untreated sewage. It's a major problem, a kind of environmental attack from multiple angles.
Okay, so widespread pollution, air and water, lungs, skin, that makes sense. But what I find puzzling, and I bet many listeners do too, is how these pollutants, especially tiny things like PM 2.5, actually manage to get to an internal organ like the liver. It seems so protected, tucked away. How does that pathway work?
That's the crucial point. It shows how insidious this all is. Let's trace that journey. It's quite remarkable, really, but worrying. So you breathe in polluted air. These pollutants, particularly the tiny PM 2.5 and even smaller ones, plus toxic gases like carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, they don't just stop in your throat. They travel deep, deep into your lungs, right down to the alveoli.
The tiny air sacs, right, where oxygen gets into the blood.
Exactly, those microscopic sacs. And here's the really concerning part. These ultrafine particles, the ones smaller than 2.5 microns, are so small they basically slip past the lungs' natural filtering mechanisms. They cross something called the alveolar capillary barrier.
Hold on, the alveolar capillary barrier, can you break that down a bit?
Sure. Think of it like a super thin, delicate tissue layer, almost like tissue paper, microscopically thin. It separates the air inside those lung sacs from the tiny blood vessels wrapped around them. Normally, oxygen goes in, CO2 comes out. But these pollutants, they're small enough to just pass right through that membrane.
Wow, directly into the blood.
Directly into the bloodstream, yes. Once they're in the circulatory system, they travel around the body. And eventually, they reach the liver through what's called the portal circulation.
A portal circulation, that's like the main highway from the digestive system, and in this case, the blood-carrying pollutants, straight to the liver.
Precisely. It's the liver's main entrance for processing stuff, absorbed from the gut and, yes, now also from the blood carrying these pollutants. So they arrive right at the liver, the body's detox hub, ready or not, to be handled. It's the front line.
That's quite a journey. Alarming. But it makes sense why the liver gets hit. But okay, the liver's designed for detox, right? It's tough. So what happens when it just gets overloaded by this constant stream of pollutants? What's the actual breakdown point, the core mechanism?
You've hit the nail on the head. The liver is incredibly resilient, but it has limits. The main way pollution harms the liver is through something called oxidative stress. When these pollutants get processed, they cause an overload of reactive oxygen species, ROS. Think of ROS as like tiny sparks causing damage inside the liver cells. This kicks off a whole chain reaction. First, lipid peroxidation, that's the fats and cell membranes getting damaged, sort of like going rancid.
Okay, so the cell walls get damaged.
Exactly. Then this triggers the release of inflammatory signals, cytokines like TNF-alpha, IL-6. This causes widespread inflammation in the liver. It also damages the mitochondria, the cell's power plants, messing up energy production. Plus, it overactivates the liver's own immune cells, the Kupffer cells, making them part of the problem. And over time, this chronic stress leads to collagen buildup. That's fibrosis or scarring, starting in the liver tissues.
Scarring, okay.
And connecting this to specific conditions. Air pollution is now clearly linked to serious liver issues. Hepatic inflammation, for one. Pollutants like benzene, ozone, PAH is common in exhaust fumes and industry. They directly trigger inflammation, like a form of hepatitis. And then there's fat accumulation. This one is quite surprising for many. Studies show PM 2.5 exposure actually disrupts how the body handles fats. This means pollution can cause non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and AFLD, even if you don't have the usual risk like obesity.
That's huge. So pollution itself can cause fatty liver.
The evidence points strongly that way, yes. And if the exposure is chronic, severe, the scarring, the fibrosis can progress. It can lead to cirrhosis, this irreversible damage, or even liver cancer, hepatocellular carcinoma.
So we're not just talking temporary inflammation, it's structural damage, scarring, cancer risk. That's really sobering. And you mentioned water pollution earlier, too. How does that specifically harm the liver? What are the culprits there?
Right, that's the other major pathway. Contaminated water offers another route for toxins. Heavy metals are a big concern. Things like lead, arsenic, cadmium. They get absorbed and build up in liver tissue. They cause direct cell damage and also make it harder for the liver to detoxify other things. Pesticide residues are another issue, especially organophosphates. They mess with mitochondrial function in liver cells, hitting energy production again.
Crippling the cell's power source.
Exactly. Industrial solvents, dyes, common pollutants can directly damage DNA in the hepatocytes, the main liver cells. And arsenic, which is a problem in some areas with contaminated groundwater, specifically causes intense oxidative stress in the liver, increasing the risk of fibrosis and cancer.
Okay, the mechanisms seem pretty clear and frighteningly efficient. But what about the proof in the real world? Are we seeing studies, data from India, that actually link all this pollution to the liver problems people are experiencing?
Absolutely. The scientific evidence is growing stronger all the time. For example, there was research back in 2017 linking long-term PM2.5 exposure directly to more liver fat and insulin resistance, especially in city dwellers.
So a direct metabolic link.
Yes. And other studies, more recently around 2021, consistently find higher levels of liver enzymes, ALT and AST, in people living with high particulate matter and nitrogen dioxide exposure. Elevated ALT and AST are standard markers for liver cell injury, you see.
Okay.
And what's really worrying, quite frankly, is the impact on children. Studies in Delhi have shown kids with early signs of liver stress and their enzyme levels go up and down, correlating with bad air quality days. It just highlights how vulnerable developing livers are. It's a serious concern.
That is deeply concerning.
If we look at the bigger picture across India, the stats are stark. NFLD, that fatty liver disease, is rising fast in Indian cities, maybe up to 30% prevalence in adults now. And significantly, many of these people don't have the typical risk factors like obesity or diabetes. It points strongly towards environmental causes.
30%, wow.
Yeah. And routine health checks in cities like Delhi, Mumbai, they're finding around 42% show elevated liver enzymes, often in people who don't drink alcohol.
So ruling out the common lifestyle cause.
Exactly. And perhaps most sobering, pediatric liver disease cases, up by about 15% in the last 10 years. Environmental toxins are now clearly recognized as a major factor in this rise among children.
Those numbers, especially for kids, it feels overwhelming, like the problem's everywhere. So given how widespread this is, what can people actually do? Are there practical steps to protect our livers, especially in high pollution zones?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? How do we protect ourselves? And thankfully, yes, there are things we can do. First, think about your immediate environment, your home. Using HEPA air purifiers indoors, home, and office can make a real difference in reducing particles. For water, good filters are key activated carbon. Reverse osmosis, they tackle heavy metals and other nasties. And maybe try to avoid heavy outdoor exertion during peak pollution times, like early morning or late evening when levels can be higher near the ground.
Makes sense. Control what you can control nearby.
Exactly. Second, diet is incredibly important. Focus on antioxidant-rich foods. Think amla, turmeric, plenty of green leafy vegetables. They help combat that oxidative stress. You can also consider adding traditional Ayurvedic herbs known to protect the liver, guduchi, bringraj, licorice fruit. And simple, but vital. Stay really well hydrated with clean, filtered water. It helps flush toxins.
Good foundational advice.
And thirdly, medical awareness. If you're in a high pollution area, getting regular liver function tests, LFTs, is a smart move. Maybe even consider testing for heavy metals if exposure is a concern. And definitely talk to a specialist, a hepatologist, for personalized advice. They can tailor strategies for you.
That's a solid set of modern protective measures. It feels empowering to know there are steps we can take. And you mentioned Ayurvedic herbs. How does traditional Ayurvedic wisdom fit into protecting the liver from these modern problems?
Yes, Ayurveda offers really valuable complementary approaches. It's not just about ancient texts. Modern science is increasingly looking at these herbs, too. There are powerful liver protective or hepatoprotective herbs. Bringraj, for instance, is known to help liver cells regenerate. Kudki is excellent for reducing inflammation and oxidative damage. Calmay helps boost the liver's own detox pathways.
So they work on those mechanisms we talked about earlier.
Precisely. And Ayurveda also emphasizes personalized care based on your body type, your dosha. Someone with a pitta tendency, more prone to heat and inflammation, might benefit from cooling herbs like neem or aloe vera for the liver. A kapha type, perhaps more prone to sluggishness, might do well with warming herbs like trikatu, maybe even specific fasting approaches. Vata types often need more nourishing support, so herbs like ashwagandha or even external oil applications could be helpful. It's very individualized.
Tailored support.
Exactly. And then there are well-known traditional formulas. Arogavardhini Vati is a classic for overall liver support. Liv.52 is another one, widely used and researched. And Triphala is great for gentle detox and antioxidant support. The key is that these traditional methods work alongside the modern measures, offering an extra layer of defense, a more holistic approach.
This has been incredibly illuminating. It's crystal clear now that pollution isn't just a lung issue in India. It's silently but seriously damaging the liver through some complex biological routes. And the science backs it up. Environmental toxins are definitely playing a role in rising liver disease. Understanding how this happens and, crucially, taking action medical checks, diet, lifestyle tweaks is just essential for protecting this vital organ today. And it's worth remembering, the liver is amazingly resilient. With the right support, it can often recover and keep working well. Acting now really can help prevent serious problems down the line. So, thinking about all this, here's a question for you to ponder. Given the liver's incredible natural resilience, how can we best combine this ancient wisdom we just discussed with modern science to create a truly integrated, proactive strategy for liver health, not just for those in polluted areas, but for everyone, everywhere? We really hope this exploration has been valuable for you. For more insights into health and wellness from different perspectives, please do subscribe to the Ayur Times channel. And if you have questions or your own thoughts on this topic, we'd love to hear them. Please share them in the comments below.